Hong Kong crypto regulation. Will they cause the next bull run with all of that Chinese money getting into crypto? I've got my strong doubts. There are already YouTubers talking just about this. I've got my doubts. I've lived in Hong Kong for more than 10 years. I've got a permanent residency for Hong Kong. I think I have an idea of why Hong Kong is doing this and how mainland China is going to react to this. Now, there's a strong relationship between now the Hong Kong government and the mainland Chinese government. It's stronger than ever. So the policies tend to converge to a degree. And so people think, okay, if now Hong Kong becomes more crypto positive, mainland China is likely going to follow. Now, there is somewhat of a changing relationship already within Hong Kong over time. In the very early days, Hong Kong was very, very crypto positive. So Sam Bankman-Fried of FTX had its first funding within Hong Kong. He was living in Hong Kong for quite a while. Then he moved out, obviously. Now he's in a somewhat different place. But Hong Kong was somewhat of a hub for crypto. And so we saw again somewhat of a competition between Hong Kong and Singapore established. So Singapore is also very crypto positive up until this day, but Hong Kong had to clamp down somewhat because a lot of retail investors got burned. There were a lot of frauds within Hong Kong. Hong Kong has in general a pretty free economic environment, so there's not too many rules going around. So you could just simply open a crypto exchange, and in the end you could run away with your money. You could say, I got hacked. We had this several times for several Hong Kong based exchanges, and so retail people just lost their money. And so the Hong Kong government said, okay, we are banning crypto. Then after a while they clamped back on this and they say, okay, we do allow institutional investors to get into crypto, so you need to have at least $1 million in order to invest. But there were still ways for retail, in smaller places, to buy crypto over the counter. So it was still possible. There wasn't that much verification happening. Now with these new laws, these will probably going to be enforced. They will be way clearer, right? Now you need a license as an OTC dealer to offer any kind of crypto trading. And so this starts now with today, right? With the 1st of June. Now, why is this all happening? Potentially, Hong Kong wants to again compete with Singapore. So there were a lot of regulatory changes within Hong Kong, right? There were all the protests. And so a lot of expats left Hong Kong. And they left Hong Kong mainly for Singapore, because Singapore has a relatively comparable infrastructure. It has relatively comparable business opportunities. And there wasn't that much uncertainty around it, right? Nowadays, if you are, for example, a Hong Kong-based company and you want to make an IPO on the NASDAQ, the US might not allow you to raise money from the US investors if you're based in Hong Kong, because Hong Kong is now so closely tied with mainland China. So if you've got a company and you can relocate your headquarters to Singapore, that might be beneficial if you want to raise outside capital. So all of these kind of dynamics made Hong Kong less attractive, and more people moved from Hong Kong to Singapore, because that's then in the end also where then the high salaries were paid. So Hong Kong wants to become more competitive. They have to open up more, and this is probably one of the main drivers also why they become more crypto friendly now. Will China copy this? I have my strong doubts. The official saying by the politicians is already, okay, this is just a Hong Kong thing, we're not going to adopt this. But you never know, right? There is a convergence between the two systems. But the issue, the main issue, is capital controls. Hong Kong does not have capital controls. China does. So you can very easily move your money in and out of Hong Kong. You can't necessarily do this for mainland China. So stocks are unsafe. Then you've got precious metals. Okay, some people invest in that. Then art is pretty popular in mainland China. Old timers, old cars are also popular. All these alternative investments. But one main concern of the Chinese government is that the smart money and the smart people leave the country, and that the economy will stop growing as quickly as a result of this. So they want to keep the capital as close to the economy as possible. They don't want this to simply just move to other investment opportunities outside. And that's the main issue with adopting crypto in mainland China. Crypto very much tears down all these walls for capital movements, right? You can very easily transfer money from one country to the next. You can't properly even follow this. You don't even know if somebody carries their crypto. They can simply just remember the passphrase in their head. They can hop on a plane and then cash out all the money in another country rather. And that kind of problem with free capital movement is the reason why Chinese crypto will not take off and the issue with free capital movement is the reason why crypto will likely not take off in China. So this whole idea that Hong Kong is just a testing ground for China to then eventually adopt crypto as well, I think it's not gonna happen. People will get disappointed, and people that speculate on this might get some return over maybe the next weeks when this doesn't yet materialize into actual clear regulation. But once things do become clear and the hype dies down, then only the people that sold early, that sold the Chinese related cryptos early, they will be the winners. So be careful out there. The Chinese government and the Hong Kong government want to protect retail investors as much as they can. This is not just in order to be helpful to everybody, it's mainly to keep the society harmonious. And one idea around this is that you don't want to increase capital concentration more than is needed. That's also why we had the policy in the property sector, right? Where there was the idea that you want to reduce leverage. The Chinese property sector is over levered. A few people earned a lot of money with that. Most people are left out. You've got an increasing disparity between rich and poor, and the higher this gets, the harder it is to sell the concept of simply just working hard in order to become rich. If everybody becomes rich just with speculation, it's tougher to have a harmonious society where the current government stays in control, and that is obviously the aim of any government. Hope that brings some light to the situation. Feel free to give this a thumbs up and a subscribe. I publish videos on this channel every single day. If you're wondering how I currently set myself up in crypto, how I personally ride those waves, then feel free to also check out the next video over here. Thanks for watching this one, and see you over there. Bye bye.